Okay.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. So let's
Yes.
okay, let's just brush up. Let's brush on what we did in the previous class. Okay. So in the previous class we spoke about what CSS is all about, right? And we said the CSS stands for cascading style sheet, right? And it tells the browser how to display HTML elements. And we also spoke about how we can use CSS. And we said we can use CSS in an inline way. That's this way. We can use it this way, in this inline way, where we can directly write like directly inside our HTML tag using the style attribute. So we can style inside our tag, our element, an HTML tag using the style attribute, and that's the style equals to double quotes, and we can start it saying color blue or font size and so on and so forth. Okay. And we also said we have internal CSS where where we write the style tag right within the head section. Okay. So that means we can create our style giving the style tag inside our head section, and we can style our elements inside here. Okay. And the last one is creating an external CSS. So an external CSS, that means we like creating a different file called maybe anything.css, okay, file, and you link it with using the link tag, using this tag, okay, using this link tag. So this tag is used to link your HTML document to your CSS, okay. So when we said that the inline CSS is mostly used for styling a like a specific like maybe like a single element, okay, quickly, like not just styling quickly, okay. But it's not good for large websites. You get messy. You understand? Makes your website look get messy. And we use our internal styling, like if you want to style a single HTML file, you understand? And it but it's not reusable across different pages. You understand? Then for external external CSS. You can use it for multiples of pages, and it's the best practice in doing a lot of like real life projects. You understand? So most of the times you'll be using external CSS. You get so in the previous class we're talking about the CSS selectors. Okay, how we can map our CSS to our HTML element to our CSS using the external CSS. And I told you that we have the element selector. That means you can pick the your HTML tag and you can map it in your external CSS, saying maybe H1 and you want to give it a color or a background color, you understand? And you can do that for your paragraph, you can do that for any HTML tag. And we have another way called the class selector. The class selector, you use a class attribute inside your HTML tag. So the class attribute class equals to double quote and well like give it any class name, okay, so that you'll be able to identify what kind of like you're giving an identifier. Like if you when you go into like maybe your classroom, you see all each of the classroom have different numbers. Like maybe this is C1, C2, C3. So it's basically used to identify what kind of a class like what kind of name is given to it. So you can have the same H1, but like you have different class name for each of them. So now they have different identifier. You get. You can also give them the same identifier. So what you do to this side will happen to this side. Okay. But you can also style everything, all the H1 by just styling using the element selector. So if you don't want to style all the H1, you can just give a class to identify a specific element. Okay, so that's why we use the class selector. So to use the class selector, you have to use dot, the name of the class you gave it. Then you'll be able to map your HTML elements into your CSS and you can style it. And you have the ID selector. So the ID selector it works like how the class selector does. You understand? So it's all about using the ID attribute. Okay, so equals to double quotes. Then you write the name of your class, ID name. Sorry. Then you can be able to style it unique, like you want to identify it from different elements. So it works like how the class also. You understand? And we have the group selector. So if you want to group multiples of elements, and you don't want, you remember we said we have something called the keys that is keep it simple and stupid, right? So you don't have to be repeating over and over. You have maybe a style that we use over and over in all your codes. You can just group them and you can give a one style for each of them. You get or multiples of style for each of them. So you can just group your elements by using a comma. So you list your element to each one comma p. If there's more comma table comma and so forth, then your curly bracket then you write the style you want to give it. You understand? And we have the universal selector. So the universal selector is used to style everything in your style. Okay, like everything in your all your your HTML elements. It can be used to style everything. And I think that most of the universal element selector are used by an asterisk. Okay, used by an asterisk to target all elements. And most of the thing that they use in your universal selector, they use the margin, padding, and border sizing. And they give it 0 because they want to make sure your browser removes all the margin, removes all the padding, and gives it a box size like border box. Okay. So the use of this thing is because when you are styling your CSS, by default your browser always give maybe a margin, a padding by default. So the best practice is that you give all of them margin 0 and padding 0 so that there is no additional space in it. You get because when we are doing it, you see the so that when we remove this, you can see that there's spaces in it. You guys should check. You can see there's already space in it. We didn't give any padding. Where's it? Let me hold on a bit. Let me go live. So when you check this, you can see that there are spaces. We didn't give any padding, we didn't give anything, but where did the space come from? So that's what I'm telling you that by default, your browser always gives some kind of padding and margin. Okay. And maybe like some spaces in between. We didn't give any space, but like we are seeing spaces in between. So by default, that's what your browser does. It gives some kind of space in between. So by giving the universal selector and removing all the margin and padding, so all your space will be removed and you can see them they're all combined. So we ourselves can give them the space. Because now if you give a space on top a space, now you're doubling the space, you get. So that's why most of the time it's good to remove all the space so that we can know the exact space we are working with. If you guys understand. If you guys understand.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, cool. So for today's class, I think we're talking about also the types of CSS colors, right? The type of colors in CSS. Um, we have the images. Let me put it in. Colors in CSS, right? We have the color name. So let me give another one. We have the color name. Okay. And this color name, or let me give it color names. So to do that, you just maybe you can you're styling your paragraph, right? Your paragraph, right? So if you want to style your paragraph, you use what color equals to blue. So this is like using the color name. So you are actually identifying what color you want to use, maybe blue, red, pink, and so on and so forth. You get. So you just pick what name you want to give it. So that's one name, like one way of like naming or colors in CSS. Okay, and another one is the second one is using the hex code. So using the hex code. So this one they have a way of styling it. So if I want to style this blue, I want to style this blue. I can use a hex way of styling it. So this is a hex way of styling it. So 000FF. That's the way of I'm going to style this blue. Okay. So you can also go online and search it. Okay. You can always go online and search maybe blue to hex code. You get the hex code of the blue, so you can see it. You understand? So you can always go online and search the hex code for it. And we have another one called the RGB. So RGB values. Yeah. So the RGB value. So you see in the RGB we have the first one is called red, and the G is called green, and the blue is called and the B is called blue. So it's mixing of, you see when you mix three different colors, you get different colors, right? So when if you add 255 here, 255 here in your green, you have this color. And if you have another 255 here, you have completely white. If you give it zero here, and you give here zero too, and you give here zero, you have black. You get. So it's how you want to mix your red, green, and blue. Okay. So if you give here zero, and you give here 255, you have green. If you give here 255, you have green. If you give here zero and you put it here, put the red, you have red. Yes, see. It's how you want to mix your colors, you understand? So you can always try it. But this one you can just hover around it here. You can click on this and you can select what color you want. Then you can select the color here and you see it to give you a number here. Okay. So you can give me a zero for now. We're doing blue, right? So 255. Okay. So you check the 255 is like the end of the blue. Give me the blue color. Okay. So the last one we have is the one with the transparency. Okay. So this one is the RGBA. So RGBA. So you can put the transparency. Transparency. So you have the pizza again. You have the RGBA. Right. So what does this do? You understand? So this is red, green, blue, and this is also the last one is called the like how you want your it's called the alpha, I think so. It's trying to tell you what way you want it. Do you want it to be you want it to be light, like transparent, or you want it to be like solid, like the way to look like when you're doing this. So the more you increase it, the more solid it becomes. Yes, and to be like this. But the lesser you reduce it, the more transparent it becomes. And I think we tried that in the last class. So I think if you check this out, we can it's, it's, let me comment this. Comment this. So let me make this one. Let's just make it one. Let's make it one. You see something. You can see solid, right? Let me take this to the right side. You can see that it's solid. So if I make it 0.1, so 0.1, then this is it's very transparent. You get. So the more I increase it, the more it shows more solid, more solid, more solid. Yes. So when it's zero, it's completely gone. It's transparent. Okay. So now you can leave it at 0.5 so that and it's in between. Okay. So you guys understand that. Okay. Okay. So another thing we want to talk about in CSS is the font style. Okay, the sizes. See, let me write a comment here. Let me comment this part. So in CSS now we're talking about fonts, right? We're talking about okay, let's talk about background also before we go into fonts. So background, we know that we basically use the same thing. Okay. For backgrounds, okay, we need an image. Okay. Maybe we use we use this image. Okay. So let's add an image here. Let's add an image. The image should be right. If you check it out, you can see this. Okay. So okay. So now for now for our background image. Okay, for background, I'm talking about all about background, background image, background color, and so on and so forth. The most of the things that you use in background. Okay. So for background now we have, let's say we give this image, right? Let's say we give this. Okay, now let's say let me remove this image. I'll tell you it's another way of adding, like maybe you want to use a background as an image. It's another way instead of me using an image here. You see what will happen. Don't worry, I'll show you guys. So now I'll start with maybe my body, using my body tag. Okay. I'm targeting my body tag, this body tag. Okay. Then now I'm saying that okay, my background color. I want to change the background color. What will happen here? Like everything will be changed. Like this whole body will change. And I want to change it to maybe a hex wheel. Like using a hex wheel saying maybe F75, X7, F7, F7. Yes, please. Like to prospect. Yes, yes, sure. Goodness. Pink. Okay, 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 okay. So goodness said pink. Okay. So let's use pink. Okay. So now we have pink, right, as our background. Okay. So now let's give a background image to it. Hey, who said that? Okay. So let's give a background image. Okay. So now we have something called background image. And what does this do? It's like we're going to give a URL to make sure that this background now will have an image. Okay. So if I give you, I'll say URL, then this comma, then I write the URL to my image. So if it's an online one, you just write the the image part. But now we have the image here, rather we have the image here, right? So we just write the ordinary name here. So ordinary. Okay. If you check it now, you see the image. There's no more pink again. You're rather seeing the ordinary. And you guys can see something because the image is small. Now it has repeated, like you can see it like 4 times. If I open it, you see it like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like it has been repeated. You understand? So how can we fix that? So that's when we have something called the background repeat. Okay, so that it doesn't repeat. So we say background repeat. Then we say no repeat. When we use this now, we have just one image. We just have only one image. Okay. Now the image is not because consider we are trying to cover the whole background. Okay, and the image is very small. So because of that, it repeats like over and over loops so that you'll be able to cover the whole background. You understand? So to do that now, we can give something called we have something called the background, like background size. Okay, and this will help maybe if your background is too like stretched out, you can use some of these things called maybe a cover, and you guys can see something that has stretched all over. And you see that it has covered the whole background. But like it still maintain the quality. So we can't see the whole thing, but it has been stretched too. But like it's maintaining the quality. Or if you use something called the container, you see what will happen. as other shrink even as other even shrink more than the cover. So the two things they it's based on how you want to use them and decide how you want them. Then you can use all these kind of things. Okay. So like this now, if we are able to see this image, you see that this is very like he has more quality than the cover. Okay. You check the cover now. The cover is going to cover everything because we are trying to cover the whole background. But like when you zoom it now, it doesn't show the whole thing. It's trying to show you that if like it's trying to contain everything, but at the same time trying to maintain the quality. That's why it's called cover. But for contain, it's going to shrink it to the best quality way you get. So those are the two this thing you get. So you can remove, you can comment them for now. Okay. So going forward, we see how we use them more better. You get. Alright. So so the background color, to set the background color, the image, the background image is to add background image, okay, and the background repeats, and we're using the no repeat means that it will make sure that the background, even though it's small and it has like it will be repeating over and over, you can remove that repeat by saying no repeat. In the background size, we can use cover, contain. I think we have more though, so don't worry, we'll go into that. Don't worry. Then we can go into CSS unit. Okay, CSS units. We're talking about the see in CSS we can use when we are using maybe 20 pixels. We can use pixels when we are sizing something. You can use EM and you can use rem. So all of them have their sizes, okay, when you're using both of them. So for now, if like let's start with the pixels, okay. So A right here pixels. We know that this pixels is what EX. Okay. So just of the pixels here. Okay. So now this pixels is like it has a fixed size unit, okay. It's like one pixel is one screen per pixel. So one pixels is one size, one screen pixels. It's when you have they're taking pictures. They say the higher the I think they say the higher the pixels, the quality the images. You understand? So now let's give like maybe a paragraph, right? This paragraph will have maybe a font size of 20 pixels. Like can you see how small it is? If I change it to 2 pixels, can you see it's even bit smaller? You can't even see it more again. So 20 pixels, we have this, right? The more we increase it, the more the pixel size it, right? So we use 20. Okay. So now we go again. The let's try the second one. We have the EM, right? Yeah. And the EM, okay. So let me show you where this EM is. Let me comment this. Let me comment this. Let's show you guys something. Comment this. So for the EM, now you see we have two RAM. And you guys can see that the 2M is very big. So you can check the size for 2M compared to the font like pixels. So 2M 2M size. So if you check the 2M size, you can see that the 2M is like 2 pixels. That's 24 PT. Or sorry, PT. It has sorry, let me check the so I think all of them have their units to pixels. You guys see. So 0.5M is 8 pixels. 1M is 16 pixels. 2M is 32 pixels. So it's even bigger than the normal font size for this paragraph. Can you see? And for 3M, it's 48 pixels. You get. So the AM is like relative to the font size of the parent element. And this one is the AM is bigger than the font size. Like for the so I say for the font size, for the pixels, it's more bigger. Okay. We have the RAM. So it depends on what you want to use. Most of the times I use pixels. But if I want to use something bigger, a bit bigger font size, then I just use the M. Okay, or I use the rem. So we have the rem. For the rem, we have this, right? So, so font size 2 rem. Hello guys, can you guys hear me? Sorry, I went to. Hello, can you guys hear me? I went to. Who went off? Hello. I just came. Goodness, can you hear me? Hello, goodness, can you guys hear me? Okay. Yeah, so where did you hear me last? I think I don't know. The network. I think the network kicked me out. So when last did you guys hear me? When last did you guys hear me? Goodness. When last did you hear me? For my network. Goodness. Goodness. When last did you guys hear me? Before my network will collapse.
Although I can hear you, but like it's shaking and stuff.
It's shaking. It's still shaking. Hello. Hello. I wanted to know what last thing did you hear before my network. Hello. Goodness. Goodness. What last thing did you hear before my network? Hello. Hello, can you guys hear me? Yeah, I think a lot of you guys have it. Mm, okay. Okay. I think we are scheduling the class again. We're not informed on our schedule. I think today we were also for today. We will end this.